Appreciate everyone tuning in as always. And I wanted to just give a few updates before we kind of get into things tonight and kind of let you know what the premise of the call is going to be, because usually I know I'm getting up and I'm doing things on a whiteboard, we're doing kinds of trainings, talking about different things that we've been speaking about in the series that we've been creating. And tonight I wanted to make it much more of a Q&A feel, as I put a story out the other day on my Instagram saying that I wanted to create a secondary series alongside the Listen to Me When series that we've been creating. So first of all, I just want to know if you've been following along with series 3 up until now, which has been the series that we've been focusing more on about standards, where we've been talking about the standards you hold for yourself, the standards that other people will adhere to, that you show them through your actions and through your behavior, not just through your words. And we're now heading into episode 5 of series 3. So if you guys have been following along with that so far, you've been finding it valuable and been applying the principles that we discuss in that series, just let me know in the chat, just so I know that the type of content we're creating really has been landing with people and that you've really been noticing or experiencing and changes in your life since you have been following that kind of content. And just to kind of follow on to what I was just saying about the series that I've been creating, of course we've got the Listen to Me When series, but now we're also creating a series that is more focused on requested topics and speaking more on specific things that people need help with, guidance with, support with, unanswered questions that a lot of us have deep down. A lot of us experience the same type of thing in the background. We all can go through very similar experiences, and I always mention, no matter how unique these experiences feel, no matter how unique these situations in life can feel for us, we all are experiencing very, very similar things, whether there's just a few differences or a few variations or variables in them. And that was, of course, as I mentioned many times, that was the premise of why the Listen to Me When series started in the first place, because I wanted to be able to become somebody that when you're sat there questioning these different types of things, and usually these days people are heading to ChatGPT, different chatbots, AIs, looking for advice, looking for almost therapy at this point. We can all agree we've been guilty of it at some point, where we've been having some kind of conflict internally, we've had some kind of question about ourselves, maybe even deep enough to about our existence, what our purpose is, why we are doing what we're doing. Evening, Jen, great to see you. And we can ask these questions to these chatbots, ChatGPT, whatever it may be, and we're wondering, why is it we experience these things? What are some logical explanations as to why I could be feeling the way I am? And before we got to that point of where people would leverage these, I used to go onto YouTube, as I mentioned in the trailer to the overall channel, of where I would type in how to deal with anxiety, Tony Robbins, where I felt like I needed a familiar voice to give me an answer to what I was experiencing in my life. And it wasn't until I really tapped into what I've discussed several times, metacognition, which is the ability to think about your own thinking and really understand my experiences, what I'd been through, why I'd been through them, why that happened to me, what I'd gained from those experiences, that I really understood that, one, we all experience similar things, but two, I could help someone else going through that part of their journey, or help someone break the cycle or break the loop that they're experiencing in their life. So that's why we've now started the secondary series, which is where people can put in requests, ask specific questions for specific topics, and I just give my take on it. And the first one was about why you feel like you're never enough. And that video did quite well. I had a lot of feedback from it. People really enjoyed that concept because it felt a lot more down to earth. Of course, I understand with the Listen to Me When series, it's very constructed in a specific way to help you build from episode 1 in the foundation series, to help you develop and build yourself in your personal development journey. But some people actually really need to be met where they're at, because sometimes we're not at that point yet where we're ready to build and grow on something. We need to first of all remove everything that's around us and have those unanswered questions to help us come in with a clear mind and almost believe more that personal development really can benefit us. Now, we've all probably been there and experienced it. And, before I kind of ramble on a little bit more about what we're doing with the channel and how the lives, we now have decided to do them every couple of weeks so we can make them super impactful. Because, of course, as those of you that are avid listeners and you tune in every single week, you know how much I love this and how much I really am passionate about what it is we're doing here in these lives. But I also want to make sure that it's not just something that people just jump on and they want to hear it and they don't want to hear it. So I just wanted to maybe change the frequency of these lives so that people can hear them with the high level of concentrated value. But also we're going to be creating more videos so that the channel still upkeeps the value that it has. So like I said, tonight I want to kind of go down a Q&A route. So please leverage, utilize the chat box. any questions that you have, please stick them in and I will answer them in full. I have also got a lot of questions that have been sent to me from, as I mentioned, Instagram stories. People have been WhatsApping me different things, and just amazing questions really that just make me realize how similar each one is to each other. How all of us, again, just to fortify or back up the statement that a lot of us are experiencing the same thing. But before I get into it and before I start answering all these different questions, I just want to know in the chat, how's everyone doing? How's your week been? Tell me something you're grateful for. Let's just get the chat moving, because this is a very interactive live. And again, this isn't just for me. This is a place where people could be sat there, both of you, 2, 3 of you could be sat there with the same question, seeking the same answer, but maybe you don't know how to put it into words. Maybe you're afraid to put it in the chat because you don't want to admit that you're experiencing something. But I can assure you now, the reason for this channel is it's created to be a safe space. A place where you can come with nothing but the intention of becoming better and being able to grow. So like I say, I really do appreciate anyone that leverages the chat and writes anything in there. As I've already mentioned, please let me know how you're doing, how you're feeling, how everything is going. Amazing, Jen. Great week. Grateful for your freedom with your kids being off school. That's amazing to hear, because you know one thing that's a shame is when I hear people say, oh, the kids are off school, and they're actually gutted that they've got to spend time with their family. That is such a sad thing, because as far as I'm aware, the purpose of life and creating a family is to be able to experience things and enjoy life with them. So it's amazing to hear that you have that perspective on life with your family and everything you're doing to help support them and raise them in the way that you wish you could have had put onto you in your childhood. So it's amazing to see that you are doing that, and you're super successful with everything you're doing right now. So that's amazing to hear. Of course, if anyone has anything else they want to share before we get into it, but I have got a bunch of questions, all different subjects and different topics. And again, just to reiterate the fact that this is a place where, although it's a live call and it's recorded and whatever else, this is a place where there's no judgment, and this is somewhere that I really want to ensure that people can really feel like they can gain answers or some kind of information to help them move further forward in their journey, or maybe even just shape where you are right now. Had an amazing week so far. Amazing to hear it, Haley. Love to hear that. So I'm just going to start off with a couple that I've received here. Plugging in with trading, started journaling everything, daily and nightly affirmations, started reading again. I'm chuffing my progress in 2 months. That's amazing to hear, Sam. Appreciate you sharing that, man. That's great. And what I can see there, Ollie, what's good, bro? Amazing to see you too, man. Much love always. But Sam, it's great to hear that, because as you say, you're plugging in with trading, you're journaling. It sounds like the key to all of that underneath everything is consistency. Like, you're super locked in with what you're doing. Everything is aligning with each other there to get you closer to the attainment of the goal, which of course is many trainings that we've done on different lives saying how important it is that you become congruent with the version of yourself that you want to become. And everything you've written there is someone that is successful in the field of trading. So that's amazing, man. Ollie, making daily votes, start an actual meal plan to go to the gym. Amazing. It just really feels like people are taking massive action with the conversations we've been having on these lives, and it's really starting to reflect. So whether I've had a part in that journey or not, I'm not here to claim any part say or partaking in whatever it is you're succeeding in, but it's just amazing to hear that the topics we've been talking about, such as daily votes, everything like that, is helping people see results. So that is amazing to hear. And again, guys, please, if you have any questions, let's get this thing going. But one that I've had here, I've got a big list of many, so I want to just make sure I pick some that are really good here. So here's one that a lot of people could probably relate to. So I was asked, why do I compare myself and my life to others online? Now, if you guys have ever experienced this, just drop a 1 in the chat, because this is something that I can definitely resonate with, where I have compared myself, my journey, who I am, what I look like, how my life looks online many, many times. And of course, it came with a level of self-awareness. And maybe even sometimes we can say, not even that this means that you're immature, but a level of maturity in ourselves where we say, do you know what? My life is my life and it's designed the way that it is. And we don't always get to see every aspect of somebody's life on social media. Because when it comes to socials, and when we can only see the highlight reel that people want to show us, that can make us feel like their life is nothing but highlights. That you can look at someone's page and the first thing you can think is, wow, look at the photos they take, look how happy they look at all the countries they travel to, look at all the luxury lifestyle items that they possess, look at all the materialistic things they have, they must be making money, they must be super happy, they must be all of these things. But sometimes we really forget to understand that the person that you are maybe comparing yourself to or talking yourself down because of, they may not think these things of themselves, because they're also human. So just because you see a highlight reel of somebody does not mean that their life is at the absolute pinnacle that it ever could be. Because as we've discussed in previous videos where people seek validation. And this isn't, again, I'm not giving ideas and saying this is what everybody does, but this is just sometimes to help us understand that if we also catch ourselves doing this in the future, if you are chasing a financial figure for success, or you are trying to attain a certain level of wealth because you think it's going to fill a void so you can live a lifestyle that is Instagrammable, this is the reason I want to give this information is not just to prevent you doing it, but so if you ever have the thought come into your mind, you can understand why you may behave this way. And the reason why other people may be seeking validation or behaving a certain way on Instagram or social media is because they need other people to tell them how great they are, to help them convince themselves that they are this person that other people think that they are. So hopefully that makes sense, because what can sometimes happen is people will be sharing that they're at beach clubs, or sharing that they're traveling, or sharing that things are absolutely amazing. They're making so much money and they're so happy and they've got this amazing group of friends. And you can sit back, and there's times, again, I'm always going to be transparent. There's times where I look at people's lives, I see them in big groups, big social groups, traveling with loads of people, and it looks like they're having so much fun. And I think, because I'm quite an isolated person, to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time with a lot of people. I spend most of my time in solitude by myself, just training, or with very, very few people. And sometimes I look at that and I think, man, that must be amazing, having a great group of friends, people you can trust, people that you can go and experience the world with. That must be so good to have a circle that size. But then you'll go see or hear a conversation about that person, and they're not actually friends with that many people. They just do it for the social recognition. They just do it for the attention they can get from other people, to have their name brought up in conversation with those people. And they're talking ill, or they're talking bad, or they don't really know each other that well. And there's things I've seen many, many times. And like I say, you can call it a victim or someone that has experienced this themselves, or you look at it and you think, do you know what is even real anymore? Because I've experienced that many times. And for those of you, we've got a couple of people talking about trading and things they've seen on social media. You know how easy it is for people to fake lifestyles. We talk about it all the time, on how easy it is to pretend to be wealthy, on how to make other people think you're a certain type of person, to deliver a level of value so people think, oh my God, he's so smart, he knows so much what he's talking about, he's such a good speaker. But that is one of the reasons why I do lives, is to show that my recorded content is not just sat there where it's just scripted and everything just so easy. I do these lives to show this is who I really am, to separate me from the other people. That's why I do them. So when we're looking again at social media and why you can compare yourself to other people, life can look so beautiful when it is nothing but snapshots of orchestrated situations. And when you're sat there and you think, I'm so far behind, other people are succeeding faster than me, they're doing more than me, how can I get to that level? Oh, they've achieved my goals before I have. Sometimes you have to question, how has that person achieved that goal that you say you want? Have they done it in an ethical way? Have they done something that can get them around it quicker, but it's not so much beneficial to everybody involved? Or are they just fabricating it? And that's not to say that a lot of people haven't gone out and achieved success, and that's not to talk down on other people to make people that haven't achieved their goals feel better. But sometimes we just need that reminder of, we all are going through our own journey of life, and things will happen to us or for us when they are meant to. It's so easy to compare. It's so easy to think someone else has it different to you. But understand that other people, regardless of who you are, we all have issues. We all have our own problems and our situations that we have to grow through and overcome. Because you hear the saying, new levels, new devils. When you see someone reaching a new level of success or achieving something new, ask yourself, how many people are actually supporting that person? How many people do you reckon are actually for them who know them? Because that may be something that you've experienced as well. And again, I don't just want you to put ones in the chat for the sake of it, but if you can relate to this, where you feel like you've had a great idea, something new's come to you, you're excited about doing something else, and you've gone and shared it with someone, as we've discussed in the environment video or the environment live, where we said not everybody is going to be supportive of you, and you sit there and question, do these people even want me to win? Who genuinely is here to love, support, and care for me? Who actually wants to see me win? And these are things that we have to weigh in when we're looking at other people's lives. And I look at everything from such an outside perspective. I look at it from many different areas, especially questions like this, where I say to myself, does this person really live a life that I would want to live? I ask myself, or put myself in someone else's position, how would it feel for me to go and succeed in that area? How would it feel to go and live that way, travel to those countries, be that type of person? Because I believe that we should always be looking or seeking ways to grow. So I use Instagram as a way to inspire myself, to see if I'm thinking big enough, to see if my goals are really as big as I can make them, or if my goals are really the thing that I genuinely want. And when you look at these people, and sometimes you ask yourself, Is it worth going and becoming like that? Is that the way that I want to do it? Sometimes you have to compare and just say, do you know what? Maybe not. Maybe that's not who I want to be. Maybe that isn't as fulfilling as I thought it was going to be. So Instagram and social media, of course, the question is, why do you compare yourself and your life to others? That can sometimes happen primarily because you look at where you are now and you don't give yourself enough grace or gratitude for the work you've put in to get to the point you are. Because the real truth is we have not all started from the same square. We may all be heading in the same direction and all trying to achieve the same things, but someone could have your achievement what seems like sooner, but they started at what would be your square 10. They had help, they had support, maybe they didn't have as much trauma inflicted on them, maybe they haven't had to grow as much because they've had help or because their upbringing was different. We all start from different points in life. So sometimes it can feel like someone else has got there sooner, but you've had to work a lot harder, overcome more obstacles, go through more periods of going through the storm, more periods of trials, tribulations, just to get yourself to a point that you once used to pray for. So it's not that you're never going to get there. It's just that sometimes you had to start from a totally different position than someone else did. And again, with these questions, I do apologize if I go on tangents. I always just speak from my heart and what comes to me at the time and just things that really just make sense to me and things I've experienced. I like to speak from experience rather than theory, and that's exactly what I've recognized and noticed myself when it comes to looking and comparing to other people's lives on socials. And you know what? I can always relate this back to YouTube. When I used to think, when I live a certain life, I can start YouTube. When I become a certain person, I can start making this content, or I can start these videos and vlogging. But what I understood was, by creating these videos now and getting into content and doing everything that I really enjoy, which is making content, doing lives like this, instead of worrying, oh, when I get an audience of 10,000 subscribers and I'm going to have 200 people jump on a live, then it'll be worth it. My lives, honestly, guys, when I used to do mindset calls on Zoom, I used to get like 100, 150. My highest numbers were nearly 200 people on the Zoom. I don't think I've ever broken over 20 people on a YouTube live. Is that enough of a reason for me to sit back and go, oh, it's not worth me doing it? No, because what I understand is I'm starting from where I am now, and until you start and take action, only then could you get closer to the end goal and the end result. So if I was to compare where I am now compared to someone like a famous streamer like DDG or someone that's doing massive numbers, they've got 100,000 people on every live, if I was sitting there and going, oh, when I live a lifestyle just like them, then I can get started. Think how long it would take me to actually build that audience, to actually start to get the skill set or be able to sit here confidently and talk in front of a camera. Because if I'm comparing myself to people that have already achieved the success, I'm comparing my square 1 to someone's square 10. So how can I actually even compare? It's unfair. They've got an unfair advantage. They started before me. They've worked harder than me. They've put in the time, effort, and energy more than I have. That's not even arguable. That's just obvious because of where they are right now. So imagine we're sitting here trying to compare ourselves where we are now to someone else's square 10. Doesn't make sense, does it? That's like trying to performance test a Fiat or a Fiesta against a Lamborghini. You know there's no competition. Why? Because they're built differently. Literally, you can sit there and you can have these conversations about comparisons. Are we even the same type of person? So I know, again, like I really appreciate, Sam, you sound like Go Office makes it more valuable. I really do appreciate it, but these are the things that I pay attention to and I notice, because people say the comparison is the thief of joy. But it depends on your perspective of the comparison. Because if I sit here now and I say, let's use running as an example, right? If I look at someone else's time, someone's been running for years, they do more mileage than me a week, they've trained harder, they're in a different physical state, they eat cleaner, and I sit there and I say, oh man, they finished the marathon faster than me, I'm so gutted. But of course they did, because I can't compare because I'm not in their league. Like, I'm not in the same league as them, so how can I compare myself to them? So the only time that comparison is stealing my joy is when my perspective is allowing my joy to be stolen, because I'm choosing for it to be. I'm deciding that I don't want to be joyous about this. Whereas if I'm comparing myself to who I was a week ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, I can say, do you know what? Who I am now compared to who I could have been, I'm winning. I'm succeeding because the situation I was in my younger years and the things I was doing before I was a fully mature man, arguably, if you put all them scenarios in a hat, you would never have pulled this one out unless I did what I did. Unless I took my initiative to go out and want to be better. You wouldn't have had the version of me that sits here and does these calls. You'd have had someone probably dead or in jail. That's just the truth. So I can only compare myself to who I've been and compare myself to who I'm becoming. Because as soon as you start to outsource it, you're now giving the other person an unfair advantage. Because you're putting yourself in their position. You're comparing yourself in their home turf. Because they're thriving in their area. Whereas Whereas you're going to have the competitive edge if you want to compare or compete or whatever you want it to be. If you want to have a competitive edge against yourself, make it a home field advantage. Make sure you're comparing against who you used to be, who you're becoming. And that way, you can only view it from a positive perspective, because we can say it's cute and fluffy and we can say however we want about it. But for me, I've always won or felt better from having a positive outlook and being overly optimistic about everything I do. That's just my experience. Again, I'm not going to teach you anything that I personally don't believe in, because what's the point? But that is what I've always been able to kind of digress my comparison is from. Instead of comparing myself to other people in the life they're living, figure out, and again, Joe, I know I'm going really heavy on one question, but I feel like that was a very, very relative question, so sorry if I am going off on it. But what I used to do, right, when I used to see people, and I still do this to this day, but it was like probably one of the building blocks of who I am today as a man, not success-wise, as a person. What built me up was me not comparing my life to someone, but studying successful people to the point of not just knowing their name or their hometown or how old they were when they made their first million. I wanted to understand where they came from, their background, how they was raised, what they overcame, their entire journey. So I could not only compare to myself to who they are now, but compare where I am versus where they started, what they overcame, how they built themselves through turmoil, through trials, through tribulations. How did they do it? How did they succeed? Was there similarities in my upbringing and my life compared to theirs? And it was more to give myself a level of optimism that if they can do it, why can't I do it? It was more to build my confirmation bias towards myself of saying if that person can come from the same background as me, they can go through the similar things that I've been through that could be deemed as setbacks, which are more just character building situations, and this is their outcome. Why don't I see how much I can compare myself to that point of them? Where they were when they were building. What were they doing? What did they focus on? It's a form of mentorship, because we can say a lot of people are inaccessible, people that have achieved what you want to, when you're talking about the Ed Miletts and the Grant Cardones and the people that Tony Robbins that are doing massive, massive things on a global scale, you may feel like they're inaccessible. But if you go back and you study their journeys, their stories, a lot of these people have written books, a lot of them have done podcasts, compare where you are now to a situation they went through in their life. Like, look at Elon Musk. He's the richest man in the world, but at one point he was sleeping in his office on the floor. Look at Amazon. We've all heard these things where Amazon started as a book-selling website from a garage. Like, you want to compare yourself to Bezos? Compare yourself to that. Are you sat at home right now mastering your craft, learning a skill with a level of belief that can't be waived or can't be taken away? No. Do you think these people that have come and become titans in this world have sat there and they may at some point, but I'm saying, do you think that them achieving that level of success was done because they sat there constantly comparing themselves to other people? Because when we're comparing constantly to someone else's life and where they're at right now, all that is doing is making us feel less grateful for the point we've reached. But there was probably one point in time in our life where we prayed to be exactly where we are now. Because when I look at myself 2 years ago, I think, man, I'm so grateful for where I am. I'm blissfully dissatisfied. I'm so grateful for where I am, but I'm dissatisfied because I know it can be better if I continue to put in the work. So, again, I know that was like 20 minutes of one question, but I feel like that was just like a very important one that a lot of us are either experiencing, have experienced, or potentially could come up against. So I wanted to make sure I gave it some time. So yeah, please just let me know, like, if there's any other questions you have referring to that, any questions you have for yourself before we head on to the next one. Right, I'm just looking now. Wow, it's a big list. Okay, this one's interesting, and this probably could be something that a lot of us resonate to, and that is focusing on one project at a time when you have ADHD, or even just a total, just trying to focus on one thing at a time and knowing what to focus on. Has anyone ever experienced that? Because that's something that I have definitely experienced and still to this day do, where you know what to spend your time focusing on. What task, what area of life deserves my full attention. Because something that we can do is we can convince ourselves that this is the right thing to do, spend a bit of time on it, and as soon as the excitement wears off, we'll go focus on something else. So this is one I feel like a lot of people can definitely relate to, where we'll pick one thing up and we'll be like, man, I'm super locked in with this. I'm definitely going to focus on this task, this job, this business, this idea, whatever it is. I'm going to spend a lot of my time focusing on this. And then, as soon as the dopamine wears off, or maybe you face some adversity, or maybe you face your first challenge in it, big or small, and you think, "Do you know what? Maybe this isn't going to pay off as much. It's not a valuable use of my time. Let me go find something else." And the reason why we do that in several aspects is, again, it's mainly because of the excitement that comes behind it. Because when things get harder, you think maybe this ain't even worth the time or effort I'm putting into it because there's no level of passion behind it. The things that are the easiest to stick to is when there's a real reason why you want to do it. So when you've got like a job list of needing to get the washing in or needing to go do the food shop, I'm not talking about those types of tasks. I'm talking about the type that are actually life altering, the type that are actually going to help you move further forward in your journey, or the type that are going to help you start to shape and form the life you want to live. Because I'm pretty sure some of you may have picked up something that really had potential. And at first you were so excited about it and you knew what you wanted to achieve and you were visualizing yourself going out and you was achieving what it is you set out to do, completing the task fully. And then something happened along the way and all of a sudden it lost its weight. All of a sudden you lost the excitement behind it and it lost its level of prioritization. I've been there many times myself where I've started loads of different projects. I've started something new and I thought, this is going to be revolutionary. This is going to do this. And then all of a sudden I thought, you know what? That's not worth my time anymore. Let me pick up something else. And times why I did that was mainly because the reason why behind it wasn't enough of an emotional attachment for me. So things like YouTube, I will never miss a video, miss an upload, miss a live, purely because this is one of my biggest reasons why. The reason why I'm doing this, I see the subscriber count going up. Yeah, it's exciting. But to me, in my mind, that still is just the beginning. Like, we're now at, like, when I checked before this, was at 1,370, which is incredible because in under 2 months, we've literally gained well over 1,000 subscribers, which I'm extremely grateful for. But even if that number went backwards or stayed stagnant or didn't move forward, that wouldn't stop me doing what I'm doing. Because let's look at it from the perspective of something that I'm not truly passionate about, or there's not a big enough reason behind it on why I'm doing it. If my subscriber number froze, or if the views went down on my videos, if I wasn't really committed to the overall goal or aim of what I was trying to achieve, I would just stop uploading. I would lose the consistency. I would stop taking action. There'd be times where people would probably be sat here on a Wednesday at 8 PM waiting for a live and I'm just not there because I'm not fully committed. But the reason why that can happen is because the level of emotional attachment I have to grow in this, to supporting people, to helping people, to learning myself. And I'm having these conversations, like I say, I'm also listening to me, seeing what comes out. That's why I love it so much, because I learn from myself in these processes. But imagine if that was something that I wasn't super passionate about. Do you think it would be growing at the rate it was? Now look at it from another perspective, something that maybe you're not so passionate about. Can you understand why you don't want to give it your full time and attention? There's several reasons why it can happen, and one of them is because you don't fully believe that you are who you need to be, that you deserve it, that you can even go out and achieve what it is you're saying you're setting out to do, big or small. Whether you want to go out and change the world and revolutionize an industry, or you simply just want to be able to start going to the gym, big or small, it doesn't matter. It's relative to what your current focus is. And attached to that question, part of the conversation was also about being able to stick to a healthy diet and exercise. I know we talk a lot about the gym and health and whatever else, and that's not because I'm a PT by any means or anything like that, but it's a universal language that our health is something we can all understand. Because when we don't have it, we wish for nothing else but to have it back. When someone we love and care about is in ill health, or they're not who they used to be, or they're suffering with something, all we wish is that they can have their health and that we could feel better. Nothing else matters when our health's on the line. So that's why it's such an important topic to tie these kind of examples to. But focused on one thing at a time and being able to stick to a diet and exercise, they kind of coexist, because it may be tough for you to stick to a diet or stay consistent because the reason why you're doing it isn't actually big enough. Because you think you want to be in shape, but comfort is more important to you. Comfort, and that comfort can look like several things. It can look like not pushing yourself in your fitness, in your health, or it can look like just not being committed to eating clean. Because it's comfortable to eat junk, to get those fake endorphins, to get that dopamine rush from eating junk food from whatever they put in it these days. That can be a reason why you struggle to stick to things, because you're used to living in a microwave society. This is something that a lot of us have probably experienced, and we know in this world today how easily accessible most things are. And I say microwave society because things can be instant. If I'm hungry right now, even while I'm on this live, I could order something on Uber Eats, and by the time I finish this, it will turn up at the door. I could have a takeaway here. I don't have to think, what am I going to cook? What am I going to prep after doing this live? I could have it turn up. Most things are instantly accessible. And like we say, instant gratification generation, 100%. We're so used to having things happen immediately. If we want to be entertained, we can just go on our phone and doom scroll. If we want to spend an hour or 2 hours doing nothing, we can just put something on the TV. We find ways to justify or give ourselves that instant level of gratification to the point of things don't really feel like they need to be earned anymore. But you know what's really good about this? If you're someone that has a very optimistic view on life and you are someone that is committed to wanting to go out and win, do you understand how easy it is to win in this generation, in this day and age? It's so easy because all you have to do is be willing to go a little bit above the bar. There was a time in life where you had to really grind and work seriously hard, like no sleep, back-to-back hours at work. Like you had to do incredible things to be able to even see an ounce of success in this world because everybody was working at a high level. Now, when you look at where the bar is, and we can even use this as topics of conversation to understand like standards in society and where the bar is, people could say this conversation is considered deep. People could say, bro, you talk so deep. What you're talking about is such deep topics. But to me, this is surface level. Because this is where my perspective is for the topics of discussion we're having. This is what I would consider a normal conversation. This is a standard level for me. So this isn't high above the bar or deep in any way. This is, if anything, any other topic than this, I would consider a shallow conversation. But it's the same when it comes to people wanting things in life and seeing success. Because even if you walk into a gym, what are most people doing between sets? I've been guilty of it, but you'll see someone on a machine, they'll finish a rep, first thing, phone, quick scroll, lock the phone. What was I doing again? Oh yeah, 10 reps, quickly, bang 10 reps. Oh wait, let me go. And it's like, it's an addiction. It is an addiction in this day and age to go and do that. And it may sound funny and it may sound almost blown out of proportion, but I see it every single time I'm in the gym. I see it. There's people that are sat there between sets, walking between machines. They're just on their phones. And that, for me, I just look at that and I say, how easy it is for me to win. I want to work harder than that person sat there. All I have to do is just keep my phone in my gym bag or on the floor. I just don't got my phone, I'll beat them. And that's not to say I'm competing with everybody or whatever else, but when we're looking for that, how to get away from instant gratification or how to stick to one thing or to stay consistent, is understand that in order for you to win, you don't actually have to do that much in comparison to other people. Consistency is enough to get you so much further forward than most, and just picking one thing. Just pick one thing, and if you really want to have something that you can be actionable with and you can take away from this and you can go and apply straight away, right now, if you have a pen or paper or even your phone to write in your notes, or you just want to make a mental note of this, after this, just decide what is one thing I'm going to fully commit to for the next 7 days. Between now and next Wednesday, what is one thing you can make your primary focus? And it's something that you actually want to do and you'll be super excited to go out and achieve, and you will feel a sense of gratification for doing it. Just for 7 days. That's all it takes. Time's going to pass by anyway. Next Wednesday's coming, whether you like it or not. So you might as well do something with it. You want to feel ahead. You want to feel proud of yourself. What is one thing you feel that if you could start to be more consistent with, or you could take more action with, and you turn that into a habit, that you think you would start to feel that same rush of gratification that you feel when you can go out and seek, as we mentioned, something instant in our microwave society? Because, like I mentioned, I can go on about these types of things over and over again, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree we've all been victims of it at some point. Picking something up, putting it down, and it's because there's not a big enough reason behind why we want to do it. And for me, the reason what I do with my fitness and my health is because I don't want to get to the end of my life, become face to face with a version of myself, the best version that I could have been, and they're a stranger. That scares me, whether that's your faith, your belief, whatever. But even if you get to the end and you say, oh, what would one regret you have? I'd never want to say I regret that I never went all in. I never want to have to sit there on my deathbed whenever it comes, off the back of this call or in 100 years' time, whenever it comes, I don't want to have to sit there and say, man, I wish I just did this. I wish I just spent more time doing this. I wish I just paid more attention to these types of things. I wish I just took my life a little bit more seriously and cared more. I don't ever want to have to say that. And I'm pretty sure many people on this call can say the same thing, because that's scary to me. That is a scary thing. So even when it comes to just focusing on one thing and it can feel like your focus is spread around, pick one thing that you would literally be so fulfilled with if you achieved it. I just want to read the chat at the same time, but if there's anything anyone wants to add to that, please utilise the chat. Again, I really do appreciate it. Ollie, admittedly, I think the novelty of learning a trading strategy has worn off, but something bigger is what keeps me improving, journaling, jumping on lives and study the charts. Amazing, bro. Love to hear that. Bigger reasons to keep up the habit and discipline daily. 100%, because at first it's exciting to go gain knowledge, gain information, learn something new, feel like you're going to progress because you know more about it. But when you get to the point where you've done it so many times and you've not actually seen an outcome, you can start to have that wear off. It no longer is as exciting because you're like, I've seen it before, I've done it before, and every single time I've done it, nothing good has really come of it. So it's easy to lose the excitement, but it's great that you've found a way to really enjoy the process through your own perspective on what you're doing. So that's amazing, bro. Right, next question. Sorry, I'm just going to flick through these because, as I say, they're a bit all over the place. Time planning to get the most out. Yeah, that's pretty much the same type of thing. So let me just see another DM. If anyone has anything else to add, please leverage the chat. We won't go on for hours and hours, by the way. I'm gonna keep this to 1 hour max. So don't worry, I'm not just gonna be rambling on all night about these. But again, if anyone has anything specific they'd like to ask, please make sure you do it now. Let me just have a look at another one on here. Can the wrong relationships hold you back from becoming your best self? That's an amazing question. So here's a question I got here too. Can the wrong relationships hold you back from becoming your best self? Now, the reason why this is such a great message is because I actually speak on this a little bit in my most recent video, where I'm speaking about how sometimes we'll just settle for the easiest thing, where we'll have the thing that we really want in front of us, but we can't just have it straight away, or we'll have an easier option, which kind of relates to the last question I just answered. But with this, when it comes to relationships, sometimes we just stay in one situation, even though we know it doesn't serve us, or we know that it's not everything we want, or we know that things could be different, or we're not really aligned. And it's not even just in like relationships with a man or woman or whatever it is you're into, but even friendships, those kinds of relationships, business, when you know you're not fully aligned with these people, and sometimes you just stay because it's the easiest thing to do. And this relates massively to when I discussed about the environment. Again, I'm referring back to that with the live, as well as the actual video I posted about environment. And sometimes we'll stay in a situation because it makes us feel comfortable, because we don't want to have to step out and wonder what it's like to be lonely, or what it's like to have to be without these people, or what it's like to have to step into something that's completely unknown. And the truth is, it really can hold you back from becoming your best self. Because again, let's just use my YouTube as an example. Imagine I was surrounded by people that told me that it was a bad idea, that said I needed to slow down, that said I shouldn't post this type of content, that going live is pointless, and I listened to them. Think how much further back I'd be held in my journey. Because at the end of the day, let's be realistic. Again, I like to use examples that hopefully everyone can relate to. Let's say that was the case with YouTube, right? And we're saying about comparing ourselves to other people and whatever else. All these questions are really going well together. But let's say I held myself back from taking action with YouTube because someone around me in a relationship, friendship, whatever, in my circle said to me, I don't think you should do that. You can't do that. Don't believe in you. It would be stupid. Your content, whatever. If I bought into that and I didn't take action, I would then be holding myself back so much more. But does that mean the goal no longer exists? Just because I'm not taking action with it, and because I'm not moving further forward with it, does that mean my desire disappears as well? Because what I would actually say is the desire is always going to be there because of how strong the reason why behind it is. Because of how much I yearn to live the life of that person, or to be able to do that activity, or to be able to do what I'm really passionate and I care about. Just because someone else told me not to do it and they've been able to convince me not to do it does not mean that I'm going to want it any less. So the same thing, let's just say with food. Let's say there's a chocolate muffin that you really want to eat, and someone convinces you it doesn't taste good and it's not good for you and you shouldn't eat it, and you listen to them and you don't do it. You're still going to look at it and think, oh, I would love to eat that. That looks nice to me. I really want that. I'm going to hold back because everyone said that I can't do it. Everyone's told me not to. My self-belief that I can eat this muffin is so low and I don't feel like I can do it, but I still really want to. That's still, that urge, that craving is still going to be there. And the same thing happens in your life. And it gets to a point where you'll start to resent people for your own decisions. You'll start to blame others for the decisions you are making off of what they are putting into you, what they are portraying onto you. They're telling you that you should do this, you shouldn't do that, or you'll hold yourself back because you want to stay in alignment with someone else who maybe just wants less. Sometimes it's not actually the fault of the other person. Sometimes you could be a super passionate person, or someone that wants more, sees more in the world, wants to experience more, but the person you're with, the friends you're around, they don't want more. They've already achieved their version of success. They've achieved their version of happiness. But you still will always yearn for more, and because of that, you'll resent them for not wanting as much as you. You'll resent and blame them for your lack of success and your lack of action because they don't want what you want. And you'll tell them to change before you change. Now, it works both ways. Of course, there's many different variables that can come into the topic of friendships, relationships, whatever, but sometimes we will shrink ourselves down to fit in a smaller pond because we then feel more comfortable there, but then we'll resent other people for not wanting to go into the bigger pond with us because of what we're actually afraid of, because we're actually afraid to have to step out and be by ourselves, and we're afraid of if it doesn't work, and we're afraid of what if I burn the bridges and then there's no point of return to, and I want to go back and there's no way I can get there. And we'll blame others for that. But what I've learned and what I've understood in friendships, relationships, whatever it may be, is as selfish as it may sound, is that there's a reason why I have a burning desire to achieve what it is I set out in my life. There's a reason why it is so embedded in me that I can't stop thinking about it. That it will always be at the front of my mind, that a life will be at the front of my mind, that a number or an achievement or something will be that I can't shake. And I cannot do myself a disservice or a disjustice by not moving towards it because I'm trying to stay around certain people. I'm willing to accept that in order for me to grow, sometimes I have to shed not just my skin, but my environment, people around me. And it sounds selfish, I understand that. And we've discussed, in my opinion, what my version of selfishness is. And I would say it's more selfish for other people to hold me back because they want to keep a certain version of me alive and surrounding them than it would be for me to go out and become a better version of me so I have more to give to them. And I use my family as an example. Like, I miss birthdays. I'm not very good with remembering certain dates and whatever else. And I'm always traveling. And my mum's always said to me she'd rather see me happy on FaceTime than see me sat next to her wishing my life was different. And they understand. Like, there's times, of course, I still get a grilling for missing something or forgetting a birthday card, which I'm terrible for. But just these types of things. But they understand that I'm doing everything I can in order to achieve my goal so I can be better to give back more to them. And that's also part of having those relationships, family, friendships, whatever. It is so important that the people you keep around you actually want what's best for you. Because sometimes, or most of the time, what is best for you is actually best for other people also. Because if I become a better me, then I can be better to the people around me. Is that making sense? Because that works on both sides. I wanted to give more of like a positive aspect on it as well. Just let me know in the chat if that makes sense or if something you can relate to. Because I feel like that's something a lot of people ask me about as well. Is like how I feel like I'm outgrowing my friends, or I feel like my family doesn't believe in me, or I feel like my partner doesn't care, or my partner doesn't believe in this business, or whatever it may be. And I know a lot of people can sit there and question and ask themselves, am I doing the right thing? And that for me has always been a case of whether I do this to please other people or I do it because it's what I know I want to go out and do because of how I feel about it. At the end of the day, as long as I stay focused on what I'm trying to achieve, I'm going to become the best version I can give more to others. That's the key. That's the most important thing. We should always be seeking growth in our lives. So yes, with the question of the wrong relationships hold you back, 100%. And it's not, again, not just relationships with an actual partner, it's also friendships, because you're going to confine yourself to an environment that wasn't designed for you to flourish in. I'm just going to check out for another question. It's now 1:45, so I'll do one more. Unless anyone has any questions they want me to answer specifically, I'll just do one more of these. And then we'll wrap it up. But let me see what we have here. A lot of these kind of relate to each other. That one as well. Sorry, one sec, guys. Just want to make sure I give a different perspective on something. Be kind to yourself. That's definitely a good one. Has anyone got any questions they want to put in the chat? Of course, I don't want to just keep talking for the sake of it, but I want to ensure that people feel like they've come on here and they've had a valuable use of their time. Low motivation could be a good one for people. On triggers to give you a boost, vision boards, meditations, gratefulness, on what you have already come and how far you've gone. So I think motivation could be an important one. It's something I get asked a lot as well. I want to touch on topics that I typically get asked quite often. And motivation really is one of them. And people say, how do I stay motivated? How do I stay focused? How do I stay driven? And again, all of these questions just really seem to be coming together in such a good way. Because like I've mentioned, although our situations and our circumstances can really feel like they're so unique to us, and they can feel like they're only happening to me and I'll be the only one that can understand this. No one else knows what I know. No one else has been through what I've been through, you know, all these types of things. But these questions, I'm actually having to try and sift through them at the same time because a lot of them are so similar. But the one talking about motivation, it really ties in again with why you pick something up and you can't stick to it, or why you don't feel inspired to go and do something, or why you're allowing yourself to be held back. And like they all just kind of compile into one thing. But with motivation, I've discussed it a few times. Motivation to me is simply a feeling to want to go out and take action. So you can hear a call call like this, you can hear me shouting, screaming, whatever you get from the back of this call, and you think, you know what, I'm motivated to change. But motivation is going to wear off. It's temporary. You've been supplemented the way you feel. Like when you go listen to an Eric Thomas video and he's calling you a beast and it's time to do what beasts do and all this type of stuff, you feel fired up. You're like, man, I'm going to go run for a wall. Like, I'm ready to take over the world. I'm going to go conquer this town. Like, something comes over you, right? Temporarily. And then your vibration will come all the way back down to where you're actually set at. And then you can question, why am I not motivated to do better things? Why am I not motivated to change? And what the process with motivation is using it, first of all, as a level of fuel. Use it as energy. When you're feeling super motivated or you have a time of day where you feel most inspired to go and do something, leverage that time with the things that are most important to you. So, for example, if for you right now it's super important that you go get in shape and you feel great first thing in the morning, you're a morning person, you like to wake up at 5 a.m., you like to go for a walk, see the sunrise, leverage that time to feel and leverage it by making you do the things that you want to do the best with the time where you feel the best. It just makes sense. So for me, with running, I have different times a day. It's where I've now developed like a habit on I can go get it done at any point in time. But for me, I sometimes like just running super late at night when there's no one around, it's dark, I know that people are sleeping. Like, it's just things that help me leverage the time better. It's strange, I know, but it's something that I've built and developed over time. Always times are in the morning, I love to wake up, go to a gym first thing, go for a walk in the sun, and it makes me feel energized for the rest of the day. So I've used that motivation I have first thing to go and get the biggest task done. And you know, you may have heard of it, but it's called eat the frog. And the analogy goes with eating the frog of if you had to eat a frog every single day, no matter what, non-negotiable, you had to eat the frog, when would you want to get it done? And the moral of the story is, realistically, you'd want to eat it first thing in the day so you don't spend all day having to think about doing it. Because then it's just self-inflicted pain. If you had to eat a frog every single day and you think, oh man, I'm going to do it at the very end of the day, it's just the last thing I do, and then you're going to spend all day thinking about it. Now translate that into a task. If it is going for a run, doing whatever, like maybe even building your business, speaking to a client, or having to get a job done, or a certain task that you have to do daily but you just can't stand it, it's going to be the same. The longer you put it off, the more you're going to think about it, the more energy it's going to drain from the rest of the day. Because your focus, although you think consciously you're thinking about what you're doing right now, subconsciously you're not present. Subconsciously you're thinking about the task at hand that you're dreading so much and you're resenting so much. So just by getting it done, you are closing what I like to call open loops. And open loops essentially are when you've got so many different things on the go that you just can't take a minute to be present, and it drains your energy in the background. Because think of it this way. Imagine, because again, like how this is always tying in, I don't know if it was almost orchestrated, but whatever. But look at it this way, right? And some people may understand this. I call it open loops. And open loops basically is when you've got so many jobs on the go, you don't know where to put your focus. And that's where motivation can be completely depleted, because it feels like you've got so much piled up on top of you, you don't even know where to start. And your energy is getting drained just by thinking about how much you have to do. Just by how much mental energy you are given to all these different tasks, but physically, no progress is being made. So let's say, for example, even just in a house, say, for example, you've got to do the washing up, you've got to pay your credit card bill, you've got to go do the food shop, you've got to hoover the house, you've got to polish the TV, I don't know, just a list of random things that are just piling up in your mind. And you're getting exhausted at the thought of tackling these tasks. Instead of just sitting there going, right, let me handle this one at a time. Let me do the washing up. That's done. That's a win. I've achieved something today. My motivation's higher because I feel like I've succeeded in an area today because my job list is getting smaller. Now let me just focus on the next thing at hand. What's the next task I'm going to do? I'm going to hoover the house. Let me get that done. Once that task's done, I'm going to get another boost of gratification. I'm going to get another boost of dopamine because my checklist is getting smaller and how I'm feeling about myself is getting better because I'm keeping the promises that I said to myself. I said I was going to finish the task that I had to set out to do. So I know I'm using this again with my analogies. I like to make sure that they're in a way that you can really digest them, but imagine them on a grander scale. Imagine where you've got to go do 2-3 big things, and that's why you're like, I don't know how to prioritize this. I don't know what to start with, because you're spending all of your time and energy thinking more about doing it than actually doing it. So by the time it comes around, you're finally going, oh, I've got to go and do that now. By the time you get there, you're already operating at 50%, because you spent 50% of your energy just thinking about doing it. And then you're spending the other 50 resenting what you're doing because you don't feel like you've got enough energy to do it in the first place, you know? So when people say about being motivated and how can I make this happen? How can I do this? How can I go and make it happen? By making sure you are closing all of these small open loops, even if they seem completely insignificant. Because when we live in a deadline society, when you're told you need to achieve this by the end of the month, there'll be things that all of us have right now that have a deadline, that you need to pay a bill, or you need to be somewhere, or you have to have something completed, or you've set a timeline on a goal that you wanted to achieve. Let's say, for example, you wanted to go full-time in business by the end of the year, and you keep telling yourself, I've got 6 months left, I've got 5 months left, I've got 4 months left. At some point, it's going to get to an area in your life where you're starting to feel stressed because you're starting to say, well, now I've only got 2 months and I don't think I can achieve it because I've not done enough yet. And then you're going to push it back and back and back, and it's going to be chasing deadlines continuously. And when you're building more and more of them, your energy is just getting diversified across all of these tasks that aren't actually having action taken in them. So if you want to know how to feel more motivated, do one thing at a time and make sure that list isn't subconsciously building. Because even when you think it's so insignificant that you got to go and do something random after this call, it is taking energy away from the main thing. So if you want to start with building motivation, but then going into discipline, this is where it transitions from how do I become motivated to how do I stay disciplined. The more you do of the right thing, the less intrigued you are to do the wrong thing. And what I mean by that is if you make the habit of closing your open loops, closing and shredding off or scratching off things on your to-do list, tasks that you've had set for so long, even random stuff. There's times you can say, I want to go and do the garden, I'm going to go mow the lawn. And that's in the back of your mind as an idea. I want to go lay a new patio. They're just ideas, but they start to feel like part of a to-do list. And now an idea of something that you was excited to do now feels like a chore. It now feels like a task when actually it wasn't, you know. I don't know if anyone can understand this. Just let me know in the chat if you're still with me on this. Because this is things that I've personally done, where I start to build almost a to-do list of just ideas. Things that I want to go do, things that would be good, but then afterwards you're like, man, why haven't I done that yet? Why haven't I done that yet? And then over time, all your energy is drained and you never get to build a point of being a disciplined person because of how drained you have made yourself through the idea of going out and completing a task. So how do we now transition from being just motivated to disciplined? As I mentioned just then, before I went on another tangent, is that we start to scratch these things off of the to-do list. And when you start to do more of that, and you start to do more of the right thing that are working in alignment with what it is you want, who you want to become, and what you want to achieve, it now becomes your baseline, your standard of operation, that you always ensure you go and complete that task, that you always make sure everything is done on time. You now start to go from someone that's always running late, someone that does things last minute, to a person that's always early, to a person that's always prepared. Now imagine that shift in identity just by making these simple changes. It's not that you are who you are and that you're stuck there. No, that's not true. Our identity can be changed at any given time. And you can start even with that example of someone that's always running late. We all know someone, maybe we're them, where you say, oh, you got to be somewhere by 12, and you know already before you see it, you know you're going to be late. You know that you've got to go and do a 2-hour drive and that you have to be there at a certain time, and you know your car's on the driveway with no fuel in it, but you say, it's all right, I'll fill it up on the way, and you know you're going to be late. You know before you set off that your car don't have enough fuel in it. But because of how you operate and how that is your standard, you call it normal, but so deep down it frustrates you. Deep down, you think, why can't I be different? Why can't I do it differently? And just by taking that action of being like, right, no, I'm going to prepare myself for something. I'm going to be prepared this time. I'm going to go fill the car up knowing I have a journey. I'm going to tell myself I have to leave half hour earlier to allow for traffic to make sure I'm there on time. That's who I now want to be. And that's how you now shift from just being motivated and going, yeah, do you know what? I'm excited. I want to go be on time because of X, Y, Z, and there's a reason to do it. To, I'm disciplined in the way I behave because I stay in alignment and my words never contradict my actions. My words are aligned with the actions I take. People can actually now go and describe me as a person of the character that I want to be described as. People say, oh yeah, they're always on time. And why does this relate to motivation and why does this relate to discipline? Because motivation is usually the reason why most people get up. The reason why most people go to work isn't because they're motivated to go and do the job. They're motivated to get up and go to work because they don't want to lose the job if they're late. They don't want to lose the job if they don't turn up. So they're motivated by money and they're not so much motivated. They're acting out of fear because they're scared of what will happen, the repercussions, if they don't go and do what they have to do. Most people are operating more from a fear-based mentality and through cortisol as opposed to operating from being motivated and disciplined. Now, I know I've gone round in so many circles of that. Again, I just talk as things come to me, so hopefully that makes sense. I always try to give so many examples because I want to make sure that everything actually lands for everybody that's on the call, because I understand, again, I say life's similar, but people can really handle information differently and some things just land different. So with motivation, use it as your fuel, but make sure that you're not dependent on it, because if you're dependent purely on motivation, that means you're only going to work when you feel like it. And if you only do it when you feel like it, do you ever feel like doing it 100% of the time? No, you don't, because if you did, you'd be doing it 100% of the time, which means you would be in a position you want to be. If motivation was enough, you would be in the dream life that you're trying to go out and achieve. So become a person of character, become somebody that's disciplined, and make it your normal trait, your normal standard of behavior, that you get what you need to get done and you don't miss, because that is just how you operate. And you get to a point, and I can explain from my own personal perspective on where I'm at with my fitness journey and the way I build my business and whatever else, is I feel weird if I don't do the tasks that help me contribute to the attainment of my goal. For example, I've got to go for a run. If I don't go for that run and I skip it, it literally bothers me to the point of where I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. I get irritable, leave me alone. Whereas for a lot of people, it's the opposite. They're irritable at the idea of having to go and do the task, but I've reached a point where I'm irritable if I don't get to do the task. People say that's draining, but if anything, that's me living in complete alignment with the goal that I want to go out and achieve. And tomorrow's video, which drops at 9 a.m, is exactly about this, the standards you hold for yourself, and not just in environments where other people can see you, but when you're sat by yourself, because you can lie to other people, but you can't lie to yourself 100% of the time, because you have to spend 100% of your time with yourself. So listen, if anyone's got any questions, please just stick it in the chat now. But if not, love and appreciate everybody that jumped on. I know we just did an hour, so it feels very good to be able to come on and have these conversations. I know it's very different to the usual we're doing, and a lot of people usually come on here, see the whiteboard, we go over things, do trainings and whatever else to give information. But I feel today I really wanted to give that Q&A style, because I know there's a lot of topics that, as I mentioned at the start, we're all wondering what the answer to the question is, but we don't actually know how to ask the question, or we don't even know what the question is or the answer we're seeking. We just know there's something missing and we're trying to find it. And that for me is the overall premise on why this channel was created. So yeah, we're taking different routes and we're doing different things on it, but overall the purpose is to help people get better and help people get through what it is they're experiencing, because I know what is on the other side when you can overcome the blockages you have posed on yourself. So listen, love and appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Honestly, I can't express how grateful I am for those that are here week in, week out, or even if this is your first time, first one you've jumped on and you've seen them coming before. Honestly, I am extremely, extremely grateful. If you want to contact me or connect with me on Instagram, at Harley Hamblin, very easy to find. I'll reply to my DM. We can have a chat. Love and appreciate you all. I will see you on the next one.